Well, hello, and welcome back to Gearhead Geeks, where in this episode we are going to go on ahead and assemble the engine on the H2. We are going to repair the carnage that happened, the bent valve. We're going to put it in a new valve, new valve guide seal, a new cap, the valve spring cap, and keepers. So those will all get replaced. Those will all be brand new. So what we're going to do here is once that is done, we'll put the head back on the engine, and then we got to lift the engine back into the frame and get it bolted in and so on and so forth. So stay tuned and we will continue building this engine up so we have a motorcycle again. All the parts are here. Don't need to wait for anything, so let's just get down to it. So to get this, to drive in our valve guide, I've made a tool, and it is basically an aluminum shaft that holds this, and I've adjusted it so this is exactly falls in 13.35 millimeters, and I'll use this to drive it in. I'm doing a local warm-up on the head. Yeah, I'm just using hot air across it. It just takes a while to do, but it's getting kind of warm. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to use freeze spray on it so it'll be all shrunk down. Then all I have to do is just drive it in and then we'll be done with this. So I drove in the valve guide and I was aiming for somewhere between 13.3 and 13.5 millimeters. And it came out to 13.46, which is just perfect. So valve guide is in there, all set to go. I can start to reassemble this head. Perfect. So the next thing we need to do is we need to ream this. This is a 4.5 millimeter ream, and this is a valve guide reamer. Just so you get a set of them. They tell you in the book if you put in a new valve guide, you need it, even if the valve fits. So we'll do that. And we will use a cutting fluid on it. And we'll just give it a quick ream. It's really not taking any real material here. It just kind of... And I think we've got it. I'm going to take a look and see. Yeah. Anything sticking out the bottom, how far it is. Not yet. Just a little more. And yeah, coming out the bottom, I'm going to give it just a little bit more. And we will bring it back out. We are reamed and everything is ready to go. So we can start putting what we've got to do is lap in the valve, and we will be on the way to getting this thing back together. The air blower did a great job of warming up this head. It's nice and even. It's hot. It's not hotter on one side than the other. It just did a nice even job of warming things up. Very nice. So now our next trick is we are going to lap in this valve. And we have another valve right here. And I'll get some valve lapping compound. And I have a few different grits of this. These things, I got some fine and some coarse. And I think we'll start with the fine. Let's see how it does. And if we have to go coarse, we'll use it. Okay. Okay, to lap in a valve, you need these little suction cup guys, and they're available at your parts store, and it just holds onto the valve. You put a little valve grinding compound on that, and see how it looks. What we're going to do first here is we're going to use something called Decum Steel Blue, and you can get this in red or blue, and it's just a blue dye is really what it is. It is very, it's for doing layouts, and when you do a layout on something, you want to be able to lay it out on some metal and then be able to scratch into it or do whatever, and the stuff works really well. So what we're going to do to see if we're getting a good coverage all the way around here is we're going to put a little bit of this dye onto the valve seat, and this is what it is. It's just Decum. This has been around for ages. It really has. This stuff has been, I'm sure it's well over 100 years. I guess we got that one. I dropped the valve into the into the compound, so there's going to be plenty on it, that's for sure. Let me get this wiped off a little bit. So we'll let this dry a little bit, and what this will do is it will allow us to see if we're in the seat. The valve itself, it'll tell you if there's a bent valve, but this is a new valve and it's not bent. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to look at the seat here and how it interacts with this. And this it doesn't take very long to dry. So, and this is still pretty warm. So what I think I'm going to do here is I'm going to get some of this stuff on the valve. We're going to drop it in, and then we'll take this guy and we just put him on there, and we'll just give this a bit of a spin. And I don't know, it's hard to see on the camera, but the seat is just ground itself in perfectly all the way around in the proper position. I'm going to wipe this off and take a look at and make sure there's nothing going on bad with this. And it is perfectly, it made a perfect seat all the way around. But I'm going to double check it, because that's what we do. We're here, we can do it. We'll double check it. So I'll put some more of this on there, and we'll let it dry. And then we'll do the same thing on we'll do the same thing on the valve, just because. Why not? And we'll let that dry. So it's going to take a few minutes to dry, and then we'll be back. And in the meantime, I'm going to be cleaning up a few things. Okay, well, what I've done here is, again, I have camera troubles, but that's okay. I have taken the valve. You can see there's a new line all the way around here. That I had it set up with Decum Steel Blue, and the cylinder head has a perfect line where the valve seat is. It is just absolutely perfect. It's not too wide. It's not abused. There's not a nick in it. There's nothing. It is absolutely perfect. So the damage that happened was not catastrophic by any means. So basically, what I have to do is clean this thing up, get this thing as clean as possible, because it needs to get ready to start to go back on the motorcycle. Well, let me get it. We'll get the valve and everything in there. we'll get it ready to go, and then we can start putting we'll put everything together, and it will be back to almost new. Almost zero damage here. Considering what it did not damage this thing hardly at all. So the first thing we need to do is get our valve guide seal in. And we have a brand new valve guide seal. So this guy needs to go back in. This is the piece that goes underneath the valve spring. And we'll make sure everything is clean. Brake part cleaner, and that does a great job. Okay, we'll put this guy in. All right, and go in there. It sits down there perfectly. Perfect height. Everything is good. So here's our valve spring. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to put on this oil seal. And you got to make sure that you do these right, because they have to be actually driven on. And I'm just going to take a socket and drive it on with that. We'll take a pair of pliers, get this on there, push it on a little bit, and then just take a hammer and tap, tap, tap till it seats. And that's seated. You can hear it. Okay. So now, here's our spring. So that's good. Now we can put our valve. What we're going to have to do here is we've got a valve guide tool that I'm going to have to dig out here real quick. But first things first. Valve is in. I think I have to go this way with it. That's okay. That's fine. Here's our spring. And we've got a new cap and keepers. And here's our new cap. I just have to find where I put the keepers. Got a brand new one of these. Yeah, that's going to be good. Let me go get my valve tool. Okay, we have a valve spring compressor. And what we're going to do is we got a brand new valve cap, and we got a brand new set of keepers. So what I need to do is just get this thing kind of lined up so I can work on it. And there's that. And this guy will screw into the center of that. Yeah, closing in on it now. Get this to be about the right dimensions. And then we'll put a little oil on these guys and get that spring compressed. And we will be good to go. That's it right there. Got a little bit of 1040 oil. Got that. I think I'm going to put a little bit on the bottom here, just because, and a little bit on the valve. Good. Perfect. Put this in here, and we'll get a little bit of oil on this guy. Just because. And then we'll open up this. And we'll get our keepers ready to go. Lousy pair of scissors. And we have two keepers right here, ready to go. Then All that we need to do is we just need to wind this thing in until we compress the valve enough to put our keepers in. And here we go. We're getting to it now. I'll make sure that everything's lined up. Yep, it's lined up. This guy's lined up. Okay. And we are wound in plenty enough now, I think. That thing keeps falling out and irritating me, but that's okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to push in, and this is a genuine Kawasaki keeper magnet. It's magnetized, and it's just a little point, and you can go in and push your valve keeper in without it. Well, doesn't mean everything's perfectly easy, but I need to wind this down just a bit more. Okay, there we go. And we'll get one of those keepers in. Maybe. Gotta push around on the. And that's it. Okay, a little drop of oil before and we'll unwind this thing. And we are back in business. The valve is in. Everything is perfect. So, a little bit more cleaning on it. We'll get all the extra carbon out of there, and we'll get the surface cleaned up. And we will be pretty close to being ready for prime time. And we are just going on ahead and cleaning up, getting rid of any extra carbon in here, just a light scraping. I use these little tools. They got flat ends on them. They're not sharp, so they don't gouge anything. And I can just go on ahead and gently scrape any carbon out of here necessary. It's got a light carbon buildup. And what do you expect for 80,000 miles? So it's not bad by any means. It just has a little carbon on it. And I'm not going to get crazy here. I'm just going to get the basics off. Okay, we are all cleaned up. And almost ready for a head gasket. Put this thing back on. Let me give this one more final wipe. Make sure everything is absolutely sanitary. Okay. We're good to go. So we have the head is cleaned up. It's ready to go back on. We're gonna do just a final touch up on the cylinders here. Make sure there's no extra garbage in there. We'll give it a final spray with some brake clean and blow it out. Make sure there's nothing left inside there. Pistons are all cleaned up and nice. Everything is in great shape. There's no damage to anything inside here. We can now get to putting this guy back together. So let me do some cleaning. We'll final wipe down. This has been cleaned about 10 times. I've been really going after it. There's no residue whatsoever on anything, but anything that even looks microscopic, I'm going to take care of. sure our cylinder walls are clean. We'll put a tiny little bit of oil on it because we don't want anything to be dry. We just want to make sure that it's all cleaned up. There's still good cross hatching in there even after all those miles. Just such a nice engine. I'm going to take a spot of oil, a glove that's falling apart, and just put a little drop here and just start going around the inside here. I think what I'm going to do is going to get rid of this glove and do it this way. Just the tiniest smidgen of oil. What we're going to do here is we're going to set our head gasket in place. All right. So here's our brand new head gasket. We got and we are perfectly clean. Okay, head gasket is in place. Now we have to get our head over here and put it on. There's two of these indexers, and that will help us get the head on. And this guy's mobile. That's good. So here we go. Let's go grab that head and stick it on there. See if I can get it in this way. Maybe that's better. That's better. All right, so here we go. Okay, and this guy's getting ready to sit down in there, and I'll get the other one started. Just got a bit of a, there you go. Okay, the cylinder head is on. So now we got to get some molybdenum grease onto our head bolts. So I have applied some moly lubricant onto each and every one of these bolts, and we can start putting these guys back in. And our torque sequence is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And there are two 6mm bolts that go in the side. And these first get torqued down to 22 foot-pounds. They are long, aren't they? Man. Look, make sure that... Huh. It is what it is. Make sure everything is in place. It is. All right, so we will wind these down, and using a 12mm socket, we'll wind these guys in. Let's make sure it kind of get this guy here. I'm not even letting it click. This is not a... Okay, so they are all spun down in there. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to torque these down using the sequence that's necessary to 22 foot-pounds, and then I think it's 22 and then 80. I'll go look it up right now. But we'll get this head torqued down. There's a couple of little 6mm bolts in the side. We do those last. And they're like 106 inch-pounds. Okay, so using a high quality torque wrench, we've got it set for 22 foot-pounds. 22 foot-pounds. And we are going to go in the order that is called for in the manual. And we start with the centermost, which would be this guy right here, and the one to the back. Yep, so 22 foot-pounds here. Yeah, and this is going to be kind of fiddly. Okay, and then we go here. Like I said, I didn't wire these on. I'm going to get an extension. Makes it a little bit easier to grip onto these things. Okay, and here we go, 22 foot-pounds. Okay, and now we move to, okay, this is number 3. I don't know if you can hear it, but it buzzes. Okay, so all of these are now torqued to 22 foot-pounds, and I believe our next one is 40. I'll go check it right now. So this now gets to 49. We just set this to 49 foot-pounds. And 49. And we start here, and I just got to kind of hang on to things. So here we go, 49 foot-pounds. $49. And here we go, 2. Okay. And 49 foot-pounds across the board. Oops. We've got 2 6mm bolts with a 5mm Allen that need to get torqued to 106 inch-pounds, and again on a very accurate snap-on torque wrench. We'll wind these guys down very briefly. Okay. Those wound down, and we'll torque these guys. A little easier on this one. Okay. So the next thing that has to happen here, okay, this is an important point. This bolt, it's a keeper for the front chain guide. If you do not put this in before you put the engine in the frame, you will be very, very unhappy. You cannot get this out or in with the engine in the frame. So you have to make sure that you put it in, get it started, and make sure that you got it indexed properly, obviously. Our cylinder head, our engine is, the cylinder head is on. It is torqued into place. It is now time for us to start getting this thing back into the frame. This is not an easy operation. The bolts that go through this are in the back, and they are tough. They're tough to get at. It's tough to get the engine aligned. Believe me, it is a tough nut. And I'm taking a nice clean rag and just kind of putting it over the top here, which is keep things from being damaged, and it'll be fine. So the next thing we need to do is start lifting this engine up and rotating it back into place. So now, the hard part. The engine is just kind of hanging here at the moment. So I'm going to lift it up a little bit. And we're getting a little more where we need to be. We're cradled. And now at a point where we can start to rotate this guy back into position. A little more maybe. And the engine is pointing in the right direction. Doesn't mean it's ready for prime time yet, but at least it's pointing in the right direction. So now let's get it up a little bit more. And this is good because you need to move it this way a bit. And now what we need to do is make sure that things are out of the way, and then we're going to, now we don't have that in our way. So now I need to get this up in the air a little more. Get this wire out of the way. I really, really do. Okay. Okay, the engine is hanging, which is good, and it's hanging fairly level. Okay, so I've got this thing on a jack here, and I'm just going to be jacking the engine into position because this guy needs to go all the way up to here. So we got about 4 or 5 inches to go, and that will allow me to get this first bolt started. And this jack is really doing a good job of stabilizing everything. Let's move over just a shade. You need to get things lined up as good as you can before you get started, or it is a nightmare. And we need to go back a little bit also, but right now I need the supercharger to clear. Push things back. Okay. Okay, here we go. Recording, good. All right, let's check these guys. This one's lining up pretty nicely. This one here is looking good. Looks like there's nothing in it, no obstructions yet. Good. It's going in. Very good. And so after a very long struggle of moving the engine around and getting the bolts lined up and just snug down, it's now time for us to torque them. And the 4 back bolts are 32 foot-pounds. These guys are 32. Each of these need non-locking thread locker. Okay. And so our engine is torqued. Just check everything. Wonderful. We'll have to look up the torque specs on these because we loosened that and we've loosened this, so we need to make sure that we get those retorqued. But first thing I want to do here is we need to get this ground and starter cable hooked back up. Now, bit of thread locker, as they tell you in the book, and these get torqued to 36 foot-pounds. Here's one. Move this out of the way. "36 foot-pounds, and away we go." Get this in a better position here. And one last one. Okay, 36 pounds. Now, need to get this guy where he belongs. And I think it's right about there. I think if you go any, there's a mark on here. Oh, there's a mark. There it is. So it's just like that. And here's a hint. Now, this is the air cleaner cover for this. But on any bike, it does not matter what bike it is, whether it's a dirt bike, whether it's a street bike, on the dirty side of the air cleaner, this is where the air comes in before it hits the air cleaner, you coat the inside with grease, a thick coating of grease. And you think, well, why is that? Why would I want to do something silly like that and have kind of a messy ordeal going on? Well, here's what that grease does. As the air comes into this chamber, any fine particles of dirt, you've seen what happens. You have grease on something, fine dirt sticks to it. And so what this does is not only does it save any filters, any particles of dirt that may make it through the filter, because that will just, even if the filter is a good filter, some particles sometimes do go through. This will catch a lot of them, and when you take it apart, which I just did, when I cleaned it up, it was truly, it had a bunch of dirt in it. And that dirt did not make it to the air filter. It did not make it to the engine. It did not make it anywhere. So you give it a nice coating of grease all the way inside here. This has got a nice thick coat of grease, and any dirt that comes in, any dirt that passes through it, it's going to pick up some of the particulate. And that's great stuff. So now what we need to do is we are just going to put this back on. Everything's all cleaned up and nice. And we can then continue on with things. Okay, continuing on, we're going to go on ahead and put on our throttle bodies. I just went on ahead and I carefully cleaned up the surfaces where the O-rings go. Get that O-ring back in there. Needs to lay in there just in a natural position, because these O-rings are really easy to displace, so you've got to be really careful about this whole thing. And now we need to just lay these on here very, 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 very carefully. You have to kind of, and the idea here is not to displace any O-rings or anything like that. So you just got to kind of lay it on as gently as possible. There it is. That is just perfectly in place. It doesn't wobble around anything. You have to make sure that the injectors don't wobble at all, because if they do, that means you've displaced an O-ring. So these are down solid, and we just need to get a couple bolts in there to do it. Most of the bolts that hold this down are the cover. I'm just being extra careful here. Yep, everybody looking happy. Okay, we'll go find some of the bolts, and we'll get this guy dropped on. Okay, that's right. Yep. And there's another one. That's another long one. Okay, pretty sure this is it. Get it in the hole. There we go. Okay. Good. And away we go. We'll get these guys tightened down. Ever so carefully. So before I forget, we need to torque this throttle bodies down to 89 inch-pounds. So I set the torque wrench to 89 inch-pounds, and we will torque away. We'll start in the middle, kind of work our way out. $89, and there's another one over here. So I'll make this one 89, and we'll go back to here. Okay, and then we just go to here, 89, and 89. I don't see any more. Let's check this one again. Yep. And we are all torqued down. Just a little final check and some routing things over here, and that's all done. So what we need to do more than anything is I need valve shims. Until I get some shims, I guess I'm just going to have to hang tight, because I just now realize there's just not that much more to put on. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start working on the exhaust, and that's probably going to take me a couple days to get that thing polished. It is not pretty, to be quite honest with you. It has it's got a lot of miles on it. It's stainless steel. I polished it a couple times, but you know, never with them off. And so I guess my next trick is going to be polishing up those pipes, and then I'll get those on. Once that's done, as soon as I get some shims, and hopefully on Tuesday, because it's Sunday now, hopefully on Tuesday I can go to Kawasaki and maybe they've got some shims I can trade. So we will see, and then I'll go through the final of, you know, dealing with the shims and kind of give you an idea of what we do. And other than that, this looks like we're in pretty good shape. Well, sorry to say, we've come to the end of this video. We really can't go much further because I need shims to adjust the valves. So I'm going to end this here so the video doesn't get too long anyway. And in the next video, we are going to go on ahead and we are going to replace the oil pump chain. While we're in there, we can go on ahead, and we have to adjust the valves anyway, so the cams are going to be coming in and out and doing all that stuff. So thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and we'll see you in the next video. Again, thanks for watching.